very few countries in Africa can rival the rich history of Ethiopia. It's known as the place where the coffee bean originated. And to be honest, the coffee is amazing. Delicious. It's also famous for its rock-hewn churches, but these are just a few examples that make this country in the Horn of Africa unique. Now, something more recent is happening in Ethiopia at the moment, and many are talking about it in conferences, events, media reports, and so on.
It comes at a particularly exciting time for Ethiopia as we embrace a wave of digital transformation that all will open new opportunities for thousands of people here.
Yes, with the recent government initiatives such as the Digital Payment Strategy and the National Financial Inclusion Strategy, Ethiopia is arguably going through a digital financial explosion. There is momentum around digital payments, momentum around digital innovations, and there are new players coming into the market. Digital transformation in this country is ripe. You see, in a country where most financial transactions like payment of utility bills are still largely cash-based, the implementation of these strategies is very important. These strategies are expected to ensure greater efficiency to payment service delivery, transparency, women's economic participation, financial inclusion, and even sustainable inclusive growth. Let's hear from Miriam Said. She's the Senior Advisor of Digital Transformation at the Office of the Prime Minister in Ethiopia.
The government of Ethiopia has committed to implementing the building blocks for an inclusive digital economy. We have defined our building blocks to be the establishment of a national digital ID, interoperable payment platforms, e-government applications, and the creation of an enabling environment for e-commerce. Inclusivity is at the heart of our strategies. To be sustainable, our efforts need to ensure that everyone is supported and empowered to make informed choices on their future.
Did you know that an estimated 400 million people in sub-Saharan Africa lack digital financial services? And 60%, yes, 60% of these people are women. This is according to the Women's Digital Financial Inclusion Africa report in 2019. Her Excellency Semereta Sewaseo is the State Minister of Finance for Economic Cooperation in Ethiopia. Let's hear her give us an Ethiopian perspective in relation to these statistics.
Ethiopia has one of the lowest financial institution account ownership rates, and we continue to see prevalence gender gaps in education, income, and employment. Much remains to be done to ensure women benefit from digital services, especially those that live in rural and marginalized communities.
As the Ethiopian government continues to roll out its digital financial inclusion strategies, the United Nations Capital Development Fund, UNCDF, has launched an advocacy hub to ensure that women's needs remain a priority in this process. The Women's Digital Financial Inclusion Advocacy Hub, in short, WDFI, was launched early this year. It was launched on the 9th of June. The event was very well attended with 120 decision makers from the digital and financial space in Ethiopia. They discussed the nuances of advancing women's economic empowerment through digital technology. It was also a great chance to begin to articulate a common vision to accelerate digital financial inclusion in Ethiopia.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Together with my colleagues from the United Nations Capital Development Fund, it is my great honor to welcome you to the launch of the Women's Digital Financial Inclusion Advocacy Hub.
The hub, which is supported by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, is an initiative of UNCDF and Women's World Banking. It has two coalitions. The Ethiopia Coalition is one of them. But before we go further, what is digital financial inclusion? Dr. Mariana Lopez is the gender lead at UNCDF's policy team, and she will help us understand what this means.
When we think about financial inclusion, we think about offering everybody the opportunity to make a choice about the formal financial services that they can leverage to improve their lives, those of their families, their communities, and their national economies. And I'm talking about a wide range of services. Think a bank account, a mobile money account, being able to apply for a loan, having insurance, having the opportunity to save. When we say digital financial inclusion, what we mean is having the opportunity to access all of these formal financial services through digital means. The importance of this is that through digital technology, formal financial services can be faster, more convenient, safer, and often more affordable.
I am sure some of you are asking, why do women need special attention when it comes to digital financial service delivery? Let's hear from Dr. Mariana Lopez again.
The reality is that the majority of women face greater challenges than men to access digital financial services. For example, we know that women are often less likely to have access to an ID. This means that they cannot apply for a bank account. This means that they cannot register for mobile money. They often need permission, authorization from their husbands. They have busy lives. Women get up in the morning, they go to the fields, they come back, they take care of the children, they clean, they cook. They have limited mobility. It's very difficult, if not sometimes unsafe, for women to travel long distances to be able to then register for a bank account. And if on top of that, then they face a male agent that doesn't care about them as customers, that doesn't really understand their needs, then it's even more difficult. But it's not only about women who live in rural areas or who are disadvantaged. There are so many opportunities for young, vibrant women that want to start a business, that want to be part of the gig economy. And for us to enable them to tap into that potential, we need to make sure that they have that choice to inform their businesses, to inform the things that they want to do, and allow them to lead the way so that they can contribute even more to the growth of their economies.
At the moment, the Ethiopian coalition of WDFI has 12 member organizations from public, private, and civil society organizations, all of them in Ethiopia. The members include the Ministry of Finance, the National Bank of Ethiopia, Safaricom, among other key players in the digital and financial space in the country, like Invicta. Eden Tadese is the founder and CEO of this organization, which works to promote economic sustainable growth for refugees and internally displaced youth using digital tools. Eden tells us how the WDFI Advocacy Hub will reinforce the work our organization does.
So the first one is coordinating efforts and coordinating resources between the different stakeholders. Another way that they could also reinforce the work that we do is through shifting the discussion more towards refugee women and also rural women, because a lot of refugees, particularly women and particularly youth, are in rural settings, rural areas. And last but not least, I would say that another way to reinforce the work that we do is by providing funding and technical assistance to NGOs and CSOs as well. And we would love to be part of that as well, because when you're providing funding to organizations that are really focusing on digital upskilling, specifically for women and youth, then you are really acting on those promises and those commitments that you make towards digital financial inclusion.
The members of this hub will define the barriers to women's digital financial needs and formulate strategies to address them. They will also gain access to training, insights, and financial resources that will be aimed at policy change and smart product design to make digital financial services accessible to the women of Ethiopia. Thank you so much for listening. This is Wairimu Gitahi from Communications and Knowledge Management at UNCDF.